Hello and welcome to this presentation for Theme 4 of A-Level Business. This one is the second of 3 videos on the marketing part of Theme 4, and this one is on global niche markets. So what do you need to be able to do? Well, you need to be able to define a global niche market, you need to be able to explain the benefits and drawbacks of niche marketing, and you need to be able to assess the benefits of translating a local niche into a global niche, and of course you will need to do that in the context of the business under consideration. So there's a lot of overlap here with what you did in Theme 1. You've learned a lot about niche markets versus mass markets in Theme 1, and we're going to review some of that, and we're going to expand it by considering its relevance as part of a global approach. So what are niche markets? Well, a niche market is a small segment of a market for a particular product or service. Consumers within the niche have quite specific characteristics and quite specialized needs. For example, Zumiez is a business that targets a niche selling products that relate to surfing and snowboarding. So here are some of the advantages of operating in a niche. Well, your specialized products that very closely meet the needs of your target market can help to maximize customer loyalty. There is, of course, scope to charge a premium price. Consumers will be less price elastic because the product that you're selling meets their needs more closely. There may be little competition in the market because it's quite small. Some big businesses may not be attracted to operating there because of the fairly limited revenue. It's also possible to be more effective and more efficient in your promotion because it can be very targeted. But of course, there are drawbacks. It's possible that your revenue overall will be quite low because of the small number of customers that you can target, and as a result you're likely to have high unit costs. The economies of scale that you can gain are limited. There are also high levels of risk, particularly if you're just operating a small business operating in a single niche. If your product life cycle comes to an end or there's a decline in the economy in that particular market, then you may experience a significant fall in sales, cash flow problems, etc. So there is a lot of risk if you're just operating in one niche. And also there is the risk that if you charge a premium price, you may attract competition, potentially from large businesses. There are some large businesses that operate in multiple niches, and they may be a very significant threat to a small business operating in a niche. Okay, so those are the pros and cons of operating in a niche market generally, and that's a little bit of revision from Theme 1. Now let's expand this by considering the relevance and connection to global markets. So global niche markets are small specialized parts of the global market. Within an individual country, these markets may be relatively small, but when you combine them over several countries, it provides a large enough market that a business may be able to enjoy really quite significant demand. Let's take a look at a few examples of businesses that are operating in global niches. And there are lots of examples of these at the luxury end of the market. For instance, Hummer is a niche product, but it definitely is a global niche. And we've also got the Vermont watch brand, their Jaguar MKI watch that you can see on the screen here operates in a niche and charges a premium price of £9,000 per watch. So there are some examples of business to consumer products, but there are many business to business products that are sold within global niche markets. For example, Sandvik, a Swedish engineering company, operates in a number of global niches. They are a machine tool superpower, you might say, producing very specialist equipment for lots of companies, for example, in the mining industry. Okay, so what's a business like that operates in a global niche? Well, businesses that thrive in global niche markets typically provide excellent quality, not just of their product, but also of the service that they provide to support that product. They're often experts in their field. They're very specialist, and you might choose to go to them because they can provide something different, specialist skills and specialist knowledge, and they often have highly skilled workforces working within them. They understand the needs of their customers very deeply, and they strive to meet those needs, and they will innovate to continue to satisfy customers as their needs may change. So that's what a global niche market is, and that's what global niche market operators will typically be like. So why would a niche player wish to expand globally? Well, I'm sure that you can imagine. In many respects, the benefits of a niche player going global are very similar to those of any other business wishing to expand globally. In the case of a business targeting a niche, the benefits, you could say, become even more pronounced because they help that business to overcome many of the drawbacks that they experience from operating in a niche in their domestic market. So, of course, it provides an opportunity for the business to grow sales. They can also reduce unit costs, which are often very high for a niche business, because they have the opportunity to gain economies of scale. And it can also help to spread risk, reduce that problem of being very exposed to risk of only operating in perhaps one small niche. Should a business seek to extend a niche product into a global market, there are risks, there are drawbacks. It may not be an automatic decision. Here are some of the questions that a business might need to ask. So, to what extent do customers abroad have the same characteristics and the same needs of the domestic niche? If they're very, very different, it may mean that actually the niche isn't the same and it would be difficult to exploit it. It would certainly involve more risk. And a lot of careful research would need to be done before you would actually be confident in saying the customers are similar to my customers. To what extent is it possible or easy to replicate the strategy that you use in the domestic market to a foreign market? For example, is it going to be easy for you to provide the same excellent quality of service that you provide at home? That may be your source of competitive advantage. It may be why customers choose your business. If it's going to be hard to replicate that in a niche abroad, then you might not attract customers, and certainly it might be very hard to charge the premium price. How could the product be distributed? Is it true that the product is going to be made in the domestic market and exported overseas? If so, that may have a very significant impact on costs. Are you going to take a different approach? Is the business going to perhaps offshore or outsource production? Maybe they're going to franchise. How would that impact on costs? What are the risks associated with doing that? Can you trust that the quality that you provide will be consistent? What might be the impact of outsourcing or offshoring on your brand? And also, are customers abroad willing to pay a premium price? The environment that you're seeking to enter may be very different indeed, and if you can't generate a premium price, perhaps given your relatively high unit cost as a niche player, it may not be worth entering that foreign market. So in essence, what I'm saying is, in short, to what extent would the business need to localize? Would price need to be changed? Would the distribution strategy need to be very significantly different? Would the product need to be tailored? Or is it a truly global niche? Are the customers and their requirements very similar globally? If they are, then it may well be a feasible strategy. But if there are significant differences, it may not be profitable and it may be too risky. So those are the types of questions that you would need to ask when you're evaluating whether a business should move from being a niche player in the domestic market to operating in a global niche. So those were our objectives for today. If you have any questions, please write them down. Thank you very much for listening.